This is lesson 8-1, adding and subtracting polynomials. Let's take a look at some vocabulary. Algebraic expressions can be classified always by the number of terms it contains. If we have multiple terms in any algebraic expression, they have to be separated by a plus sign or a minus sign. If they were separated by multiplication, we could easily combine them. The four that we have to be concerned with are monomials, which are one term, binomials, two terms, trinomials, which are three terms, and polynomials, which are many terms. The standard form of any polynomial is always written in decreasing power order. You must start with the highest power and the coefficient that's associated with it, and move on from there. The degree of any polynomial is the sum of the highest powers of each variable present in the expression. Here's some examples for you to look over. So 5x has one variable, and the one variable has a power of 1, so 5x is of degree 1. Whereas in the second example, we have two variables involved, and the highest powers of x is 2 and y is 3. Adding those together, 4x squared y to the third is of degree 5. Interestingly enough, a longer polynomial, a four-term polynomial, in example 3 is of degree 3 because there's only one variable. Any constant is always of degree 0. As we just said, the word constant has a degree 0. The function names based on degrees. Linear functions are of degree 1. Quadratic functions are of degree 2. Cubic functions are of degree 3. And from there, we just say 4th degree, 5th degree, 6th degree, etc. Linear functions is something you have already studied. Quadratic and cubic functions will come later on in this course. Here are some examples of classifying polynomials. So I want you to put each polynomial into standard form and name the polynomial based on its degree and number of terms. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the examples on your own. Here are your answers. The first one, we need to switch those terms and put 4x squared before 3x. It's a two-termed polynomial, which makes it makes it a binomial. And it's quadratic because it's of degree 2. The highest power of x in this case is 2. So it is a quadratic binomial. In the second case, we have three terms. We need to rearrange them to do 5x to the third plus 7x plus 1. The highest degree is that of 3. And there are three terms, so it becomes a cubic trinomial. Here are your rules for adding and subtracting monomials. Your biggest and most important rule is that you can only add and subtract like terms. If you're unfamiliar with like terms, you may want to visit previous lessons in regards to solving equations. If you have like terms, you add the coefficients and you leave all variables and their powers alone. For adding and subtracting, we do not touch the variables and we do not touch their powers. If there is no coefficient in front of any variable, you may assume that a 1 is there. Here are some examples of monomials. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the examples on your own. Here are your answers. Those are like terms, 6s and 4s, so we add 6 and 4 to get 10, and we keep the s, 10s. 8x squared minus 3x squared are like terms. Don't touch the powers. We're left with 8 minus 3, which is 5, and then the x squared. The third example are unlike terms. We cannot touch those. We leave it as 5a minus 4b. The final example, we have a double negative, so we need to make that positive, and our final answer is 12z squared. Let's take a look at how we add and subtract polynomials. The first thing to do is put a 1 in front of each set of parentheses. Then distribute appropriately. You could be distributing a positive 1, you could be distributing a negative 1. You need to make sure you're looking at your signs. Combine all like terms to simplify the polynomial. Make sure you always write your answer in standard form. Here are some examples of adding and subtracting polynomials. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do them on your own. Let's take a look at the first one. The first thing I need to do is put 1s in front of both sets of parentheses. Then I distribute the 1s all the way throughout. Now I need to combine like terms. I combine the x squareds first to get 9x squared. I combine the x terms to get negative 12. And I combine the 5 and the 10 to get 15. I'm left with 9x squared minus 12x plus 15. In the second one, we put 1s in front again. This time, I'm going to distribute a positive 1 with the first set of parentheses and a negative 1 with the second set of parentheses. I'm left with this string of terms. Now, I need to combine like terms to get my final answer of 10x squared minus 8x plus 3. In the third one, again, putting 1 in front. Distributing positive 1 to both this time gives me a string of terms like this. Combining like terms and having it in standard form gives me 12x squared minus 9x plus 14. If you're having any issues with this particular lesson, please consult with your teacher in class.